Welcome, curious souls. Okay, no, there is no way I'm going to keep that up for 31 videos. No. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Halloweenathon for October 2012. Okay, folks, let's start this Halloweenathon. But first, let's go ahead and lay some ground rules here. So, if you're expecting this Halloweenathon to have, like, gory stuff in it, it will. But we're going to gradually work our way up to that. We're actually going to start with some pretty family-friendly stuff, first of all. Stuff that's nostalgic, stuff that you saw when you were little, that your parents allowed you to see when you were little. Also, you're probably not going to see, well, probably, you won't see long series. Like I've already said, I'm not going to do Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, nothing like that. Nothing that's multiple movies to view. However, I am going to do at least one, possibly two series condensed into a couple of videos. Not going to take up to I want them to be a surprise, and I only say possibly two because, well, you'll see when we get there, you'll see. And for day one's movie we have Hocus Pocus.
From Walt Disney Home Video, the Sanderson witches are flying into town. And now everyone's in for a real treat.
Greedy little beggars.
Winnie's the wickedest.
Hello.
Sarah's the sexiest.
Will thou dance with me?
And Mary's the hungriest.
No time for snacking.
They're here to have some fun and practice a little witchcraft. If they could only get it right.
She did it.
Hocus Pocus on video cassette.
Right, so what we have here is what I consider to be one of the quintessential Halloween movies. You might disagree with me, but this is my Halloweenathon, so nuts to you. Here's the story in a nutshell. We open in Salem, Massachusetts in the year 1693, where the Sanderson sisters are convicted of witchcraft and hung, but not before they cast a spell that gives them a chance to return one day. Cut to modern day, or, well, 1993. Max Dennison is the new kid in town, and in an attempt to impress Allison, his prospective girlfriend, he lights a mystical object called the Black Flame Candle, which activates the Sanderson sisters' spell and allows them to come back to life for one night. To ensure their continuing existence, the three witches attempt to suck the souls out of the children of Salem before the end of Halloween night, and the only people trying to stop them are Max, his little sister Danny, Allison, and a talking cat named Binks. Hilarity ensues.
Sisters! All Hallows Eve has become a night of frolic. Where children wear costumes and run amok. Amok! Oh, this one child.
Now, like I said, Hocus Pocus is a must-see for every Halloween. Seriously, I make sure to watch it at least once every year in October. I once thought that only myself and some close friends thought this way, but once I got on the internet, I found out that a lot of folks agreed with me. They all say that they too feel obligated to watch Hocus Pocus sometime during the Halloween season. I don't see how you can hate this movie. Now, granted, I'm saying that with my nostalgia goggles planted firmly on, but I think that this is one of the movies on my list that I don't need to defend with nostalgia. I think it still stands well on its own as a good Halloween movie. Trust me, there will be other movies on this list that are there only for reasons of personal nostalgia. So let's get into a little more detail about Hocus Pocus. The Sanderson sisters are Winifred, played by Bette Midler, Mary, played by Kathy Najimy, and Sarah, played by Sarah Jessica Parker. And while all three of the witches are entertaining, Bette Midler steals the show. Not just in terms of performance, but also in, well, witchiness. You see, all three have special powers. Sarah can hypnotize people with her singing, kind of like a siren from Greek mythology. Mary can sniff out their victims like a bloodhound, which, by the way, coupled with the fact that she constantly barks, always made me think that she wasn't really their sister, but some kind of transfigured dog. And Winifred, on top of being the trio's leader, has some kick-ass Sith lightning powers. And not to mention the spell book that was gifted to her by Satan himself. Yeah. So, anywho, the heroes of the movie are Max, played by Omri Katz, who, by the way, was also the main character in the TV series Erie, Indiana, a show I watched as a kid and can't believe I never noticed it was the same guy. His sister Danny, played by young Thora Birch, Allison, played by Vanessa Shaw, and Thackeray Binks the Talking Cat, played by Sean Murray while in human form and voiced by Jason Marsden. All of the heroes are pretty good characters. Some might argue that point when it comes to the little sister Danny. I'll admit she is quite the brat. But I consider that genuine for a little girl of that age. I've been around a couple that act like that. Oh, you haven't? Well, good for you. While Max might be considered the main hero, Binks is actually the more interesting one to talk about. He was a teenager back in 1693 whose little sister was lured in by the witches as a test subject for their new potion that allowed them to suck the souls out of children to retain their youth. Binks tried to stop them, but unfortunately failed, and on top of losing his little sister, he was also cursed by the witches.
His punishment shall not be to die, but to live forever with his guilt. As white when he is white. Jump back.
They turn him into a cat and make him immortal. Before they can do anything else to him, the Sanderson sisters are captured by the Salem townsfolk and put to death. Everyone assumed that young Thackeray Binks was killed by the witches just like his sister. So he lived out the next 300 years standing guard over the witches' old house, which became something of a local landmark, in hopes of keeping the spell the witches cast from ever being activated and thus resurrecting them. He also somehow relearned the ability to talk.
Nice going, Max. You can talk.
Yeah, no kidding.
Speaking of Max, an important part of his character is that he's a virgin. No, I didn't bring that up just because I'm weird. The movie keeps going out of its way to hammer in that fact.
A virgin lit the candle. And he's a virgin.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah.
Really?
Look, I'll get it tattooed on my forehead, okay?
My brother's a virgin. Brave little virgin who lit the candle. I'll be thy friend.
It's so odd. This is definitely meant to be a family-friendly movie, and yet it seems to want to shame anyone who dares to still be a virgin in their mid to late teens. And the whole virginity thing is what causes the trouble to begin with in this movie. The witch's spell required a virgin to light the black flame candle in order to work. Max filled this role. Oh, if only he had been sexually active! Our children's souls are in danger because of abstinence! Anyway, the most memorable part of this film is after the kids steal the witch's spellbook and try to get their parents to help them, but the witches take all the grown-ups out with a spell that causes them to dance until they die. And how do they cast this spell?
Hello, sailor! My name's Wilfred! What's yours? I put a spell on you, and now you're gone! My wedding fell on you, and it was strong. So strong.
With a kick-ass musical number, of course. God, I love this part of the movie. I always try to play this version of that song at any Halloween party I'm at. Okay, let's cut to the chase here. The witches chase the kids. The kids trick the witches and try to burn them alive. Family-friendly film, people. The witches survive because of their spell and go after the kids again. Danny gets kidnapped and the witches prepare to suck out her soul along with all the other kids in Salem. Max and Allison rescue Danny and destroy most of the potion the witches needed to do their soul sucking. Winifred saves just enough to use on one person and decides that it must be Danny since she insulted her. The kids hide out in a graveyard since it's hollowed ground and witches can't set foot there. The witches can, however, fly over it on their enchanted cleaning supplies and also summon forth a zombie to pursue the kids. The zombie's name is Billy, by the way.
Go to hell! Oh, I've been there, thank you. I found it quite lovely.
Said zombie isn't really a fan of Winifred and decides to help the kids instead. Max steals the potion and drinks it, forcing Winifred to make him her target instead of Danny.
What a fool to give up thy life for thy sisters.
The sun starts to rise, indicating that the witch's time is almost up. Winifred gets a hold of Max and prepares to do some soul-sucking, but unfortunately for her, she has touched the hallowed ground and is now being turned into a lovely lawn ornament. The sun rises and the witches explode into color-coordinated dust. During the fight, Binks was mortally wounded, and now that the witches are dead, his spell is broken, meaning he is no longer immortal and is now dying. Binks' human spirit says goodbye, and his little sister's ghost comes to lead him into the afterlife. It's all very heartwarming. Until...
Zachary Binks, what took thee so long?
I'm sorry, Emily. I had to wait 300 years for a virgin to light a candle.
You just had to get one more jab at the virgins in, didn't you, movie? Damn it, Max, you're like, what, 17? You should have had like 10 different sex partners and 2 STDs by now. Get with the program, man! So, slight riffing aside, I still say this movie is awesome and needs to be watched every Halloween season. And it's not that hard to find. On top of being out on DVD for the past few years, it's also just got a Blu-ray release for this year. I'll be adding it to my collection soon, and I recommend you all do the same. And that's it for day 1 of the Halloweenathon. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for day 2. Pleasant nightmares.